In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from famous trade routes and powerful empires, there was a group of small worlds bound together by fear and hope. They were not rich. They were not strong. They survived by sharing what little they had. For many years, they believed that staying unnoticed was the only way to live. But silence did not protect them forever. A massive alien empire arrived without warning. Its ships were dark and sharp, blocking the light of nearby stars. They moved with slow confidence, as if nothing could stop them. One by one, the small worlds were surrounded. Communication stations were destroyed. Defense platforms were crushed. The empire did not speak of peace. It only demanded surrender. On the last free world of the Alliance, leaders gathered in an underground hall. The air was heavy and still. Screens showed burning cities and broken fleets. Many had already accepted the end. They knew no strong power would come. The great empires of the galaxy cared only for themselves. Still, one final idea remained. A young communications officer suggested sending a wide-range distress signal. Not to any single power, not to any known ally. Just a message sent into deep space, repeating again and again. A call that said only one thing. We are here. We are dying. Please help. Most leaders did not believe it would work. The galaxy was too large. Time was too short. But there was nothing left to lose. The signal was sent not far away. Beyond explored space, the message traveled for years. On Earth, the signal arrived as a faint echo inside a deep space listening array. It was first detected by an automated system and flagged as unusual. Soon, human analysts began to study it. The language was strange, but emotional patterns were clear. Fear, desperation, finality. The data reached a secure facility beneath Earth's surface. Screens lit up with star maps and decoded fragments. Scientists worked in silence, knowing this was no ordinary signal. Han Soo-jin stood near the main display. She was a systems scientist, calm and careful. She had spent her life studying unknown signals. This one made her hands shake. The energy signature matched advanced warfare. Planetary destruction was already in progress. She reported her findings to military command. Admiral Kang Dae-hyun listened without interrupting. His face showed no surprise, only deep thought. He had served for decades, guarding a secret most of the galaxy did not know. Earth was not weak. Earth was hidden. For centuries, humanity had watched quietly. They explored slowly. They built carefully. They avoided attention. When other species fought for power, humans stayed in the shadows. Not because they feared war, but because they understood it. Now that silence was breaking, a council was called. Military leaders, scientists, and diplomats gathered. The room was simple. No symbols of power. Only screens and quiet voices. Some argued that the signal could be a trap. Others said it was not Earth's responsibility. Humanity had survived by staying unseen. Admiral Kang spoke at last. He said that Earth had learned from its own past. He said that ignoring suffering had once cost humanity dearly. He said that if they had the power to help, then choosing not to act was still a choice. Han Soo-jin confirmed that the threat was real. The Empire's weapons could erase entire populations within weeks. If no one intervened, the Alliance would fall. The vote was taken. Earth would respond. The decision was not announced to the galaxy. No warnings were sent. No threats were made. Earth did not seek fear or praise. Orders moved quietly across the planet. Deep beneath oceans, shipyards awakened. In mountain bases, dormant fleets powered up. Crews were called from peaceful lives into service. They did not cheer. They did not panic. They prepared. Captain Lee Jun-seok stood on the bridge of a massive carrier as systems came online. The ship was clean and silent, built for long war and careful control. He had trained for moments like this, even when he believed they might never come. Pilots gathered in briefing rooms. Among them was Park Yura, a skilled pilot known for her calm focus. She studied the battle data carefully. The enemy was strong, but predictable. That gave her hope. Across the fleet, there was no talk of conquest. No talk of revenge. Only one mission repeated again and again. Protect the helpless Dot as final checks completed. Earth's fleets moved toward jump points hidden beyond normal space. Engines hummed with restrained power. Navigation systems locked on to distant coordinates that most humans had never heard of. Admiral Kong watched the fleet status from command. Thousands of ships. Perfect alignment. No wasted motion. He knew the galaxy believed no one would come. That belief would soon be broken. With a silent command, Earth's most powerful fleet entered faster than light travel, moving toward a war that had already been decided by others, but not by humanity. The alien empire tightened its grip on the last worlds of the Alliance. Its fleets moved slowly, but with full control, like hunters who knew their prey could not escape. Orbital stations were destroyed one by one. Trade routes were cut. Supplies ran out. Panic spread across cities where people once believed they were safe. On the surface of the final defensive planet, alarms never stopped. The sky was filled with fire and falling metal. Shields flickered and failed. Defense cannons overheated and went silent. Every hour, another line of defense collapsed. Enemy commanders watched from their flagships. They felt no urgency. They had fought many wars and crushed many weak coalitions. This was no different. They laughed at the idea of rescue. No major power would risk its fleet for a group of forgotten worlds. One commander ordered, a message sent to all remaining cities. It demanded surrender and obedience. It promised survival only through submission. Many citizens cried as they listened. Some prayed. Others prepared to die deep in space. Earth's fleet moved in silence. The faster-than-light corridor was stable and smooth. Human ships traveled in tight formations, each movement planned years in advance. No signals leaked. No energy spikes were visible. To the galaxy, there was nothing there. On the bridge of his carrier, Captain Lee Jun-seok reviewed updated intelligence. Enemy numbers were large. Their weapons were powerful, but their formations showed pride and routine. They did not expect resistance from anything new. Lee trusted his crew. They had trained for unknown enemies. Their drills were based on adaptability, not habit. That difference mattered. In a nearby hangar, Park Yura sat inside her fighter. The cockpit lights were soft and clear. She closed her eyes for a moment and slowed her breathing. Fear was present, but controlled. She thought of the civilians she had seen in the data feeds. She did not know their faces, but she understood their fear. She promised herself she would fly well. Elsewhere in the fleet, Han Soo-jin monitored long-range scans. She tracked enemy energy patterns and weapon cycles. Each detail helped predict how the Empire fought. She shared her findings with command ships in real time. Admiral Kang Dae-hyun studied the battle map. He saw the Alliance defenses failing. Time was short, but he did not rush the fleet. Humanity's strength was not speed alone. It was timing. He ordered the fleet to hold just outside detection range. While the enemy prepared its final strike, Earth prepared its first move. The alien empire launched its main assault. Thousands of ships advanced toward the planet. Planetary shields shattered under sustained fire. Evacuation ships tried to flee, but were destroyed before reaching safe distance. On the surface, people gathered in shelters. Parents held children. Elders watched old recordings of better days. Many believed these were their final hours. High above, the enemy flagship charged its main weapon. A beam capable of cracking continents began to form. The commanders watched calmly. Then something changed. Sensors across the enemy fleet began to report errors. Space itself seemed to bend. Signals returned impossible readings. Some officers panicked. Others assumed equipment failure. Before orders could be given, space tore open. Massive human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Their hulls reflected starlight like calm steel oceans. Smaller ships spread outward, forming protective lines. For a brief moment, the battlefield fell silent. The enemy commanders stared in disbelief. No warning. No broadcast. No known signature. Admiral Kong's voice transmitted across open channels. It was clear and steady. He spoke once, with no anger and no pride. He told the enemy to withdraw. He stated that the civilians below were now under Earth's protection. The alien empire hesitated. Some commanders laughed and ordered an attack. Others felt something they had not felt in years: uncertainty. Earth's fleet moved. Human ships did not rush forward. They repositioned smoothly, cutting off enemy firing lines. Precision strikes disabled weapons without destroying entire ships. Communication relays went dark. Command vessels lost control. Captain Lee led his carrier group into the heart of the formation. His orders were clear: break the enemy's ability to coordinate. Park Yura launched with her squad. Human fighters moved like a single mind. They did not chase glory. They protected evacuation routes and intercepted enemy bombers. The enemy's confidence shattered. Their strongest weapons failed to lock on. Their fastest ships could not escape encirclement. They had faced strong foes before, but never one that fought with such control. On the planet below, people looked up and saw new shapes in the sky. Not enemy ships, defenders. Hope returned like light after a long night. The alien empire realized, too late, that it had made a terrible mistake. The galaxy had not abandoned these worlds. Earth had simply arrived. As the battle continued to turn, Admiral Kong watched calmly. Humanity did not fight for fame. It fought because someone had asked for help, and Earth had answered. The battle did not end when Earth arrived. It only changed its shape. The alien empire tried to recover from shock. Orders were shouted across damaged channels. Some ships turned to flee. Others charged forward in anger. Their formations broke apart as fear spread through their ranks. Earth's fleet did not. Panicked out human ships moved with steady purpose. Each group knew its role. Larger vessels absorbed enemy fire, while smaller ships slipped through gaps and struck at weak points. Weapons fired only when needed. No movement was wasted. Captain Lee Jun-seok watched the enemy lines break on his main display. He gave short commands. His crew responded without delay. His carrier released more fighters and support craft. Shields adjusted to incoming fire. Damage reports stayed low. Lee understood something important. This enemy was strong, but it depended on intimidation. Once that fear was gone, it had little else. In open space, Park Yura led her squad through burning debris. Enemy fighters swarmed toward them, fast and aggressive, but poorly coordinated. Park did not chase them. She guided her team into a tight defensive pattern. Human fighters covered each other. When one ship drew fire, another struck. Enemy pilots fought alone. Human pilots fought together. One enemy ace broke through and targeted an evacuation transport below. Park saw it instantly. She pushed her engines hard, ignoring warning lights. Her weapons locked. One clean strike disabled the enemy craft. The transport escaped. Park felt no pride. Only relief. Below the battle, evacuation efforts restarted. Human ships formed shields over cities and spaceports. Small transports moved under protection. For the first time in weeks, people felt they might survive. On Earth's command ship, Han Soo-jin tracked the enemy's main weapon systems. She noticed a repeating power surge pattern. It was a flaw. She reported it at once. Admiral Kang Dae-hein adjusted the battle plan. Human ships redirected fire at precise moments, forcing enemy weapons to overload or shut down. One by one, the most dangerous enemy vessels fell silent. The alien commanders realized their situation was worse than they feared. Their fleet was still large, but its core strength was gone. Worse, their communications were nearly destroyed. Some attempted surrender signals. Admiral Kang allowed them. Human ships ceased fire against vessels that powered down. Escape corridors were opened. Earth had not come to erase an entire species. It had come to stop the attack. Not all enemies accepted this. A group of enemy warships gathered near the planet. They ignored surrender orders and prepared a final strike. If they could not win, they would take the world with them. Captain Lei saw the movement and reacted instantly. His carrier surged forward, placing itself between the planet and the enemy. Other human ships followed, forming a layered shield. The enemy fired. The impact shook space itself. Human shields flared bright white. Some failed. Hulls were damaged. Alarms sounded across multiple ships, but the line held. Lee's ship took heavy damage. Power dropped in several sections. His crew worked fast, sealing breaches and rerouting systems. No one left their post. Park Yura's squad was recalled to defend the carrier. Enemy fighters swarmed again, desperate and reckless. Park felt exhaustion in her arms and neck, but she stayed focused. One by one, the attackers were driven back. At last, the enemy's final weapon overloaded. The ship tore itself apart in a silent explosion. The battlefield grew quiet. Wreckage drifted where fleets had once stood. Fires burned out. Emergency lights flickered across damaged vessels. Slowly, the truth became clear. The alien empire had lost. On the surface below, people stepped out of shelters. They looked up at the sky, still filled with human ships. Many cried. Some knelt. Others simply stood in silence, unable to believe they were alive. Earth's fleet did not celebrate. Rescue ships descended. Medical teams moved to wounded worlds. Supplies were distributed. Engineers began restoring power and communication. Han Soo-jin coordinated relief efforts with calm efficiency. She barely rested. Every saved life mattered. Captain Lee finally allowed himself to sit. He looked at the damage reports and then at the planet below. He knew this victory would be remembered. Park Yura removed her helmet in the quiet of her cockpit. Her hands trembled now that the danger had passed. She took a deep breath and smiled faintly. Admiral Kang addressed the Allied leaders. He did not speak of Earth's power. He spoke of responsibility. He said the galaxy was safer when those with strength chose to protect, not dominate. The message spread across nearby systems. Others were watching. Traders, governments, empires. They had believed no one would come. Now they knew the truth. Earth was real. And Earth did not fight alone. The days after the battle felt unreal to many across the saved worlds. Smoke still rose from damaged cities. Broken ships drifted in orbit like silent reminders of how close everything had come to ending. Yet life continued. People walked outside. Children looked up at the sky without fear for the first time in weeks. Earth's fleet remained in position, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Human ships formed wide defensive rings around the system. Patrols moved slowly and carefully. Sensors watched every corner of space. No enemy signals returned. The alien empire had retreated far beyond the system, carrying its fear with it. On the main command ship, Admiral Kang Dae-hein reviewed reports. Casualties had been avoided as much as possible. Some human ships were damaged, but none were lost. More important to him were the civilian numbers. Millions had survived because the fleet arrived when it did. That knowledge stayed heavy in his mind. Han Soo-jin led coordination teams between Earth and the Allied worlds. Languages were translated. Medical needs were prioritized. Power grids were repaired using human technology, adapted carefully so it would not overwhelm local systems. She spoke often with local leaders. Many did not know how to thank Earth. Some were afraid of what Earth might want in return. Han answered them simply. Earth wanted nothing. This confused many. In one of the largest cities, a temporary council was formed. Representatives from each surviving world attended. They requested a direct meeting with Earth's command. Admiral Kong agreed. The meeting was held through a shared communication chamber. The image of the human admiral appeared clear and calm. He stood in a simple uniform. No symbols of rank beyond what was needed. One by one, the Allied leaders spoke. They described their losses, their fear, their disbelief at being saved by a power they had never known existed. Finally, one leader asked the question everyone was thinking. Why did Earth come? Admiral Kong did not answer at once. He said that humanity had once lived in a divided world. He said humans had learned through pain that ignoring suffering only allowed it to grow. He said Earth had chosen long ago to prepare quietly, so that when help was truly needed, it would be ready. He added that strength had meaning only when used to protect others. The meeting ended in silence. Across the fleet, crews worked without rest. Engineers repaired ships. Medical teams treated wounded allies. Human soldiers helped clear rubble in cities they had never seen before. Captain Lee Jun-seok visited the surface of the saved planet for the first time. He walked through a damaged district with local guides. People stared at him, unsure whether to bow or speak. He asked them simple questions about water, food, and shelter. He listened more than he spoke. Park Yura volunteered for escort duty during evacuations of damaged orbital stations. She flew slowly, guiding civilian transports through safe paths. Children pressed their faces to viewports, watching her fighter with wide eyes. She waved once. Later, when she returned to her ship, she sat alone and finally allowed herself to feel the weight of everything that had happened. She thought of how close the transports had come to destruction. She thought of how easily she could have failed. She reminded herself why she flew. News of the battle spread beyond the system. Traders carried stories. Observers shared recordings. Rumors became facts. The galaxy learned that Earth was not a myth, or a minor world. Earth was a silent power. Some distant governments reacted with fear, others with interest. Messages began to arrive at the edge of Earth's communication network. Requests for meetings, questions, warnings. Admiral Kong ordered. All messages logged, but not answered yet. Earth would speak when the time was right. Meanwhile, long-range sensors detected movement far away. The alien empire was regrouping, not to attack again, but to withdraw and fortify its borders. Its confidence was broken. Its leaders argued among themselves. They had expected easy victory. They had found humanity. Instead, Han Soo-jin studied these movements closely. She knew this peace might not last forever, but it had been earned. On the saved worlds, rebuilding began. Human engineers taught local crews how to repair shields and stations using their own materials. Earth did not leave behind advanced weapons, only knowledge that could help them stand on their own. This choice surprised many observers. Captain Lee received orders that the fleet would not remain forever. Earth never intended to rule this region. Its presence was temporary. When the time came, Earth would leave. Before that, a final ceremony was held on the surface. It was simple. No grand speeches. No displays of power. Representatives from the Allied worlds thanked Earth's crews. Gifts were offered. Admiral Kong accepted only symbols of friendship. He stated that if the galaxy chose cooperation over fear, fewer fleets would be needed in the future. As Earth's ships slowly began preparations to depart, many watched from the ground and from orbit. Some felt sadness. Others felt inspiration. They knew they would never forget this moment. The galaxy had changed, not because Earth had conquered it, but because Earth had chosen to stand when no one else would. Earth's fleet did not leave all at once. Ships departed in small groups, quietly and without ceremony. Each jump point closed behind them like calm water after a passing wave. The saved system grew quieter, but it did not feel empty. It felt safe. On the command ship, Admiral Kang De-hyun stood alone for a long time, watching the stars. Reports continued to arrive, but none required urgent action. The war was over. The work now was memory and meaning. Han Soo-jin joined him with final recovery data. Civilian infrastructure was stable. Food production had resumed. Medical needs were under control. The Allied worlds would survive. She allowed herself a small breath of relief. Admiral Kang thanked her. He said the quiet victories mattered as much as the loud ones. She nodded. She had seen enough history to know this was true. Captain Lee Jun-seok prepared his carrier for departure. Repairs were complete. His crew moved with familiar rhythm. They spoke less now, tired but satisfied. Lee walked the decks one last time. He stopped to thank maintenance teams and medical staff. He knew leadership was shown in moments like this. Park Yura completed her final escort mission and returned, her fighter, to the hangar. She powered down and sat in silence. The hum of machines faded. Only her own breathing remained. She thought about the faces she had seen through cockpit glass. Fear turning into hope. She knew she would carry that memory into every flight from now on. As Earth's presence decreased, other powers in the galaxy reacted. Some sent careful messages of greeting. Others sent warnings. A few sent threats, quickly withdrawn when no response came. Earth did not answer any of them. Instead, Earth listened. Long-range sensors observed shifting alliances and changing borders. The alien empire that had attacked the Alliance withdrew behind fortified space. It no longer expanded. Its neighbors watched closely, no longer certain of its strength. The story of the battle spread everywhere. Some versions exaggerated Earth's power. Others softened it. But one detail never changed. Earth had answered a call when no one else did. On the saved worlds, new defense councils were formed. Old rivalries faded. People remembered how close they had come to extinction. Cooperation was no longer optional. Human advisors stayed only long enough to ensure stability. They shared defensive strategies and emergency planning. They did not stay to rule. This choice confused many. Some asked why Earth did not take control, why it did not demand loyalty or territory. The answer was simple. Earth had already learned what happened when power was used without restraint. As the last ships prepared to leave the system, a final message was broadcast to the Allied worlds. Admiral Kong spoke briefly. He said that strength should never stand alone. He said unity was the real shield. Then the channel closed. The final jump began. Space bent softly as Earth's remaining fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel. The system returned to normal starlight. The sky was quiet once more, but it was not the same quiet as before. Across the galaxy, others looked into the dark and wondered. They wondered how many fleets Earth had. They wondered how long humanity had been watching. They wondered if Earth would come again. On Earth, life continued. Cities glowed peacefully at night. Children went to school. Scientists returned to research. Farmers worked fields under open skies. Most humans would never know the full details of what had happened far away. They would hear only that a distant war had ended and that no enemy ships approached Earth's borders. That was enough. Admiral Kang submitted his final report and retired from command. He did not seek praise. He spent his days walking under open sky, content that the decision had been the right one. Han Soo-jin returned to her research, now focused on early warning systems and peaceful contact protocols. She believed preparation and compassion could exist together. Captain Lee accepted a new posting, training future officers. He taught them patience before power and discipline before pride. Park Yura continued flying. She never forgot the battle. When asked why she served, she answered simply, because someone once needed help. The galaxy moved on. But it was changed when small worlds faced danger. They remembered the fleet that came without demand. When empires planned conquest. They remembered the sudden arrival of silent ships. And in the deep darkness between stars, where fear once ruled alone, a new thought existed. That maybe the galaxy was not without guardians. That maybe, when the call was real and the need was true, Earth would hear it, and Earth would answer.